Give me your number 5 football player.
Now, again, I'm not going to just put my home team on here. These are guys that I watched growing up for the most part. Some I didn't, but most of them I did, and I just loved the way they played football.
You already established that I'm a homer.
Right.
You're a homer, and you're going with the great.
All right. So my number 5.
I think you'll like my NFL list.
Okay. All right. Okay. So my top 5. Here's my 5th guy, Deacon Jones of the Los Angeles Rams and San Diego Chargers. He played in 8 Pro Bowls, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He just was discovered by the Rams when they were scouting for running backs, and they saw Deacon Jones outrunning these running backs, and they said, "We got to get this guy." All right, he revolutionized defensive end with his hand slap. He would probably be in the top 3 of sack leaders of all time, but they didn't record sacks at that time. But they have it estimated about 170 sacks. So. Unbelievable defensive end. I used to love to watch him with Fearsome Foursome when they used to play the Giants and the Vikings, and he was one great defensive end.
No, I can't argue. I think you're going to like my number 5, even though he probably would not be in most people's number 5s. But I went by guys that I would pay to see. I would give out my cash. But he went to Notre Dame, so you might have respect for him. Number 5, I put Mark Bavaro. I always love to go see Mark Bavaro play. Notre Dame graduate. He is a 2-time Pro Bowler with his seasons with the Giants. He won 2 Super Bowls. I don't know. When I went to see Bavaro play, he just trucked people, man. He trucked people. He just catch the ball, he run, he carries them. You've seen all those famous videos where you got 3 or 4 guys just dragging along. Mark Bavaro was a tough dude.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
One of the best, man. One of the best.
Great blocking tight end, too. And, yeah, that one film of when he was doing the 49ers in that I think it was a championship game, and he was dragging Ronnie Lott and about 6 other 49ers with him.
And who does that? Who drags Ronnie Lott? I mean, come on. You know that and his nickname was Rambo because he looked like Sylvester Stallone. He was built like Sylvester Stallone.
Big boy. Big, tough boy.
Really big boy. How can you go wrong with Mark Bavaro? So give me your number 4.
All right. Number 4, this is almost a homer. This is Fran Tarkenton. Revolutionized the quarterback position and the passing game when the quarterbacks actually called their offensive plays. He was the first real scrambling quarterback of the NFL. He used the short passing game like they do today to open up the longer passes, using running backs and tight ends. 9-time Pro Bowler, NFL Most Valuable Player. He led all division, all the records he had when he retired were mostly his. He had 342 touchdown passes, 47,000 yards throwing, 3,674 yards rushing, 32 rushing TDs, 3 Super Bowl appearances, and like I said, he held almost every quarterback record when he retired.
Were any of these guys playing when you were alive?
Yes, Fran Tarkenton and Deacon Jones were. I was a kid, but
just check. Okay, just check. All right, so I'm going to stick with my Giants at number 4. You're going to see a theme here. Okay, so I'm going to go with Michael Strahan. Listen, you can't go wrong, Michael Strahan. 15-year career, all with one team, which Alexander will appreciate. He didn't get run out of town. Retired on his own. All with one team. Has set the record for sacks in 2001. Whether Favre fell down or not, I don't care. Exciting player. Always was very vocal. Always was pumped up to play. Never took a play off. And even to this day, even if you take the sports out of it, I enjoy him on Fox NFL Sunday. He's been good on the morning shows. Good personality. One of the best ends ever to play for the Giants. How can you go wrong?
One of the best ends in the history of NFL. I mean, Hall of Famer, one of the sack leaders. I mean, he's an unbelievable football player.
And just in case all you football fans are out there thinking, to get a good player, you got to go to Ohio State and get Chase Young. Not so much. Because Michael Strahan did not go to a big-time college.
He was in Texas. What was it, Texas A&M?
Southern. No, Texas A&M would have been an improvement.
Yeah, right.
Southern. So it just goes to show you that you do not have to go to Ohio State to be a stud. It's no guarantee that you will be a stud. Now, I think you'll like more my top 3 because it's a little off for a minute. So who you got at number 3? We'll do the football ones. We'll finish them. Then we'll go to the Flash, and then we'll get into the other sports.
Okay, I got Lawrence Taylor revolutionized the outside linebacker position. A member of one of the best linebacker crews in football history. They actually had to design the offenses to try to stop this guy, and they couldn't slow him down. 2-time Super Bowl winner, 10-time Pro Bowl, NFL Most Valuable Player, 3 times Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, 1,089 tackles, 132 sacks recorded, 0.5. But his first sacks weren't recorded the first year. So he's up there close to 140 something. He has 56 forced fumbles and 9 interceptions. What a player!
I can't argue with that. I wish I could, but I can't because he's on my list later. So anyway, number 3, I went with the guy, man, Joe Montana. How can you have Joe Montana on a list? The comeback kid, Joe Cool. I mean, how can you not have Joe Montana on a list? See, you talk about before, like Alex had talked about with other teams. Like, I get what you're saying, because to me, it's weird that Joe Montana played for Kansas City. I don't even count it. Yeah. I know it wasn't one of those situations where he went there for half a season and was done. I get that, but I still don't count it.
And you know what's unbelievable? Mm-hmm. You know what's unbelievable? You have 2 Notre Dame college players, ex-Notre Dame college players, on your top 5 list.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, Notre Dame was churning them out. Now they're not going to Notre Dame anymore. They're going to Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson. True. Can't turn them out anymore. But to me, Joe Montana is always a San Francisco 49er.
Yep.
And arguably, if he's not number 1, he's the second best quarterback of all time. A lot of people say Brady, and it's hard to not argue with Brady, because it's hard to not say Brady because, he won so many Super Bowls. But, Montana won quite a few too. Montana won 4 Super Bowls and never lost one.
Hey, there were great quarterbacks before there were Super Bowls. So, I mean, to say the greatest of all time is a lot of.
Well, yeah, you got to do it off of what you can see. So Alexander says T.O., who was on his list, always backed up his talk. Revis was the only cornerback that QBs feared to throw towards. Sanders, Smith, and Moth, don't think I need to explain. You hit it on the head, Alexander. I mean, when Revis was in his heyday, nobody threw over there. I don't know if Revis would be, if I was sitting here making a top 5 list of cornerbacks, it's not, Deion Sanders is better than Revis, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, they're both great cornerbacks, and if you're doing defensive backs, you would have to put Green from Washington in there too. I mean, there's a lot of great defensive backs too, but Darren Revis was unbelievable, no doubt about it.
Good, thank you for covering there while my throat just dried up. Live, you can't even fake it. So, Alexander says he was really good with KC, but concussions caught up to him. Yeah, it's the equivalent of if Strahan went and played for Minnesota for a few years. It'd be like,
you just don't do that. Jerry Rice is still always a San Francisco 49er. The other teams don't count.
I'm still mad that Phil Simms went somewhere else to play. I haven't got over that yet. So, who do you have at number 2? Matt says Champ Bailey over Revis. I think there's a few cornerbacks over Revis, but Revis is really good.
Yeah, no doubt. Number 2, I'd have to go with Jim Brown, arguably the greatest running back of all time. 1964 championship, 9-time All-Pro, 3 times MVP, Rookie of the Year, 8 times rushing leader, 5 times rushing leader with TD leader, with 12,312 yards, 12,312 yards in like 9 years. I mean, he didn't play that long. He had 5.2 yards per carry, 126 career TDs. This guy was unbelievable. I mean, if he played the full season, back then they only played 12 games. If he played 16 games, I don't think anybody would have touched his record. And if he didn't retire early, who knows how many yards he would have had. But he just dominated when he was with the Cleveland Browns.
Okay. Well, for my number 2, I'm going to stick with San Francisco connection. And I'm going to go Jerry Rice. So me, best receiver ever played the game, hands down. That's my opinion. All the records, all the accomplishments, so many accolades. Career leader in almost every statistic for wide receiver. Receptions, touchdowns, yards. Once had total yards and touchdowns in a season until it got broke. And the thing I like the most about Jerry Rice is he always played the game right.
Yeah.
He never cried. He never complained.
Didn't want the spotlight.
He didn't want the spotlight. He just went out there, did what he does on the field, what he knows how to do well, made his money, set his records, called it a day.
Yeah.
So before we go to the Flash, who do you have as your number one? And we're gonna do the football. We're gonna quickly go to the Flash. We're gonna come back with top 5 baseball, hockey, basketball, college football, and college basketball. So we got plenty to cover on the top 5s, and we'd love to keep hearing your opinions on your top 5. But we're up to number one. Who's your number one top 5 favorite football player of all time?
Well, I don't even want to say this because I don't know if I like him, but I respect him. You know, he still hasn't retired, and he owns almost every record in the books as far as quarterbacking goes. 9 Super Bowls, 6 Super Bowl appearances. I mean, I don't know if that record will ever be broken. So, quarterback of a team. So, you know, I respect him. He's a Patriot and now a Buccaneer. But man, this guy is one heck of a quarterback, and you got to give the man his due.
You can't take anything away from Tom Brady, because nobody has gone to more Super Bowls with less talented names on offense than Tom Brady. Tom Brady, and I'm not taking anything away from Joe Montana, but Tom Brady never had a John Taylor, Jerry Rice duo at wide receiver.
Yeah. And didn't have a running back like Roger Craig either. So.
No, and he still won.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a defense like San Fran in those days with Ronnie Lott and all those guys.
I mean, the Patriots defense was pretty good. In fact, they brought him to a couple Super Bowls. So, I mean, we could debate that, but San Francisco had a dominating defense back then. There's no doubt about that.
Well, my number one was your number 3. Of course, I'm a homer, my number 1. How can I not put the greatest defensive player of all time, Lawrence Taylor?
Great pick.
Got to be number 1. He's the best. And I met him. So how can you go wrong? You know, he's the best. So you kind of read off all his stats here. So me doing it would just be a repeat. But is there really anybody better defensively than Lawrence Taylor? He changed the position.
Yeah. I mean, there is no greater outside linebacker in the history of football. Probably one of the greatest linebackers, because you got to put in Dick Butkus and other people like that. Defensive players, there's a lot of great defensive linemen, Reggie White, Bruce Smith. I mean, there's a lot of great ones. But the greatest I would say the greatest game changer in all of football.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot because you're Mr. Knowing All from the old days. Okay, so I'm going to hit you with a trivia question. I want to be typing on your phone or Linda passing you any messages via Morse code over there. All right. Lawrence Taylor was picked in the 1981 draft as the number 2 overall pick. The New Orleans Saints passed on him. Who went number 1?
Wow.
You'll never get this because I've never even heard of the guy.
Can you give me a hint? Was it another linebacker?
No.
Oh, then I don't know. I was going to say Jackson.
A running back. I'll give you the whole hint because you still won't get it. He's a running back out of South Carolina.
Running back out of South Carolina. I don't know.
George Rogers.
George Rogers. I know George Rogers.
You think George Rogers should have been drafted before Lawrence Taylor?
No, but George Rogers played for the Saints. He also played for the Washington Redskins and went to a Super Bowl with the Washington Redskins. He was a good running back, Jim.
Let me throw some names at you that George Rogers went before. Okay? George Rogers went before Lawrence Taylor. He went before a running back that he wasn't even better than. Freeman McNeil had a better career than George Rogers. Kenny Easley and previously mentioned Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott went 8th in the first round in that draft.
I'll tell you right now. Did you look up the stats on George Rogers?
No, but I'm going to do so.
I wish you would.
George Rogers, a professional college football player and pro, played 7 seasons. He won the Heisman in 1980. He was the first pick in the 1981 NFL draft. He played for the Redskins and the Saints, rushed for 7,000 yards.
In 7 years.
You think New Orleans feels bad they didn't take Taylor?
Oh, of course they do. How many teams? How many teams?
A lot. I mean,
don't you think a lot of teams wish they took Tom Brady too?